Good morning everyone and welcome back to my channel on this beautiful day of October the 28th, 2025. It is 9:48 a.m. I hope that everybody is keeping safe. In this last woman report, as I make my way out of the platform, I want to leave you guys with a couple of things that you need to consider and think about. I have been expressing a lot of things within the last 12 years. And one of the things that I have emphasized from the very beginning is the simple fact that it's time to separate ourselves, and it's time to get out of the way, and it's time to reconsider the big cities. It's time to assess our surroundings, and it's time to take our lives into our own hands. So I want to start this video by asking the question, what do you see? Because I'm completely disconnected up to a point that if I am not embedded, I'm not going to know nothing about it. And because I have chosen to separate myself, and I do not belong to a confined mentality, because I cannot accept what I did not grow up with. It doesn't matter how, the situation, eventually you're going to venture out and you're going to leave it behind. I have emphasized that I was once like you, and because I was once like you, I was once there. I've been there. I was once hungry. I was once without a home. I was in the street with my kids, uncertainty, in a time where nothing was happening. It wasn't because I got evicted, no, it was because I just couldn't afford to live in a rented room anymore, among other circumstances that were there. And of course, by yourself, anybody can help you, but with kids, it's hard to open the door to someone with kids. I've been there. I know what it's like to, ask for money because you're hungry. I understand the situation that is arising very, very well, because I've been there. And I also understand, as a person that fell into the system and had to completely depend on the system once upon a time, I am here to tell you there's people out there that have made this a way of life. Just like there's people out there that would fabricate a story to get an apartment. This is not new. This has been going on. But unless you're going through the same thing, you do not start seeing the real from the counterfeit. I have seen women that have never felt a punch of a man in their life yet. They will dead ass stand there and pretend that they are a victim of domestic violence when they do not even know what a man's punch in your face feels like. They don't have any experience, but they're right in the system. This is not new, my friends. Sorry. This has been going on. They're there. And for some particular reason, it's a confined mind. And I'm not going to sit here, okay, and justify absolutely nothing. So if you're expecting me to sugarcoat things, sorry, can't do. I am based on the evidence. I am based on what is there. I am not based on he said, she said. I am based on experience. Without experience, there's no foundation. Without a foundation, there is no learning process. Without no learning process, there's no mechanism or capability of survival. I told you guys in one of my last videos, I asked the question, how would you recognize the enemy when he comes knocking on your door asking for help? This is what I was talking about. The mentality is there for you to distinguish it. There is a difference between need and greed. And because I was once like you, I can speak. Because this is learning how to maneuver, how to make things work. This is not a lifestyle. Life is a map of survival. How well can we cope with certain things is how well we're going to stand. But look at the mentality that is being forth. It's not a mentality that wants to survive. It's a mentality that is confined. So I want to ask the first question. Based on everything that I have listened to, this is what people are willing to do because they need to feed their children. So they're willing to go to this extreme, alright, in order for them to feed their children. So I want to ask the question, what kind of role model are you serving as? And two things are going to happen. Either you're going to end up in jail or you're going to end up with a bullet in your head. This is not going to end well. So then I want to ask you, are you really thinking about your children? Because if you were thinking about your children, you do not put yourself in danger. Therefore, this mentality is a duplicity with a pretext. My friends, I raised 5 kids. And I'm here to tell you that the system is not there to help you. The system is complete confinement. This is a mentality that sees no other way out. They have no works. They have no skills. They are a complete dependent mentality. This mentality is not human. This mentality disregards other people. This mentality is willing to put people in danger, is willing to steal, rob, coerce, just to survive and strive. This is no different than a parasitic mentality. I told you guys 88 was going to bite, and everybody was going to feel it, even those that did not vote for him. Yet, with everything that he is doing, this that is happening, and this that is going to come upon the USA is very easily, transparently, right there for you to see the dirty hand that is coming. And I have never, ever seeing what I'm looking at. Not only that, you know, NYC mixed in socialism, a city that strives in democracy and equality. Something's wrong here. Either my ears are deceiving me and my eyes are deceiving me, or what I'm looking at is an agenda. Because socialism is a movement. And the ultimate goal is communism. Because the socialist mind has to fight for everything. But I told you guys that if you gotta fight for this cup, then it doesn't belong to you. If you gotta fight for a cup of coffee, it doesn't belong to you. Go make your own. This is not just a one-sided street. Sorry, my friends. In case you didn't know it, welcome to reality. Because this is going to be felt by everybody. Everybody is going to feel this impact. Even those that are not even a part of this madness. Because they saw this a long time ago. Because they have the experience of knowing that no matter how much they have strived in this world, they have never amounted to nothing. Nothing. And the same system that says I want to help you is the same system stepping over your head. Confining you and labeling you. And keeping you insignificant, in fear, sick, with stress, with anxiety. The majority of the people that are going to be affected don't even need it. Because they're not even American citizens. And you need to think about that. Because this is why we are in the predicament that we are. Because they went money, Christmas giving the whole entire, time between 2020 and 2023. They were giving out money like crazy. Only to what? Only for people to, be signal and go after because they committed fraud. Like, can we successfully say that they baited people then? They're baiting people now, but look at the mentality that is being exposed. But all this, who's behind all this? The Democrats. But they want to blame 88. But 88 doesn't make laws. He don't work for Congress. He runs the country. So we got a problem here. Because we still in an internal war and it's getting worse, and they're willing to not only expose these people, but expose themselves. And now, just for the sake of reinforcing, they want to bring in the socialist mind. My friends, I counsel America from bringing in the radical mind to take over any major city in the USA. I highly caution you against affiliating with that mindset, because I'm telling you, the USA is walking into a sleep, very calmly, very subtle, and very sudden destruction, and they're not coming back from it. Not only that, look at the timing. Look at the timing. In such a time that the world is in celebration. They got no food. They got nothing. They are being left to fend for themselves. My friends, this is a precursor to what is coming. This is a rehearsal. You know why? Because as soon as they open up, everything is going to go back to normal. Because this is the God of the world. Money. This is what moves people, and this is what stops people. Therefore, we can successfully say that the mark of the beast is going to be a hit. But with that hit, you're going to lose your life. It's a double-edged sword. So I want to ask the question. You're willing to do all this for the sake of feeding your children. But what's going to happen to your children when you are either in jail or you're dead? Tell me. Because either way, they are about to lose a mother. A mother that's not clearly thinking. And a mother that's being led by a radical mind that wants to think that it can go against government. Do you not see that they've been preparing for this? Do you not see that they've been rehearsing? Do you not see every single protest that has ever been held? Do you not notice that that's their playground? That's where they get trained. Do you not understand that they're more prepared than you? But then again, how many years have we been talking about the same thing? Yet, people think it's a joke. Look at what Jamaica's about to go through. Jamaica's about to go through something catastrophic. Yet, look at the mindset of the majority of people. They don't believe that this is happening because this is how they are acting. Putting themselves in danger. Why must you die before your time, says the Lord? What is wrong with people? What is going on? Have people gone berserk? Do you not understand that everything in our surroundings is being manipulated and is going against us? Do you not see? Do you not see that we do not preserve or honor life, but we are so quick to cause death? One problem after another, another problem after another. We got nothing but problems, but no solutions. None. But nobody will tell you, separate yourself. Think for yourself. Use this opportunity to gather the little bit that you can. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. And what is going to happen, I don't even want to think about it, because right now, what I'm really seeing is what I seen back in 2012, where they were talking a lot about the red list, the blue list, and the yellow list. And then there was this video that came out where it was telling people, be a moving duck, not a sitting duck. And it had the title, the Thanksgiving, it was a specific word, like the Thanksgiving warning. And the video went as follows. It was like a Thanksgiving, right? And they decided to round up people, but they did it the day after Thanksgiving because they knew that everybody was going to be home. This is where the be a moving duck and not a sitting duck, and be where you are least likely or expected to be comes into play. And I remember that I really didn't really understand, but I know that very, very prominent influencers were speaking about this blue, red list and yellow list back in 2012, and how people were going to die and some were going to be kidnapped and blah 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 blah. And because there's just so many people, some of us just don't care. We don't want to know, we don't care. But in reality, look at what's happening. If you compare information, you start to see a pattern. You start to see that there's a narrative being played, and some of these people under influence, okay, under public information or independent news media or whatever, it's only being the red list leading the blue list, which it's going to end up very bad with the mis and disinformation that we are looking at, and artificial intelligence playing a key role where your eyes and your ears are deceiving you if you do not understand that artificial intelligence is mimicking just about everything. And you don't know what's real from what's fake. So not only do we have a war information on an artificial level, okay, but these things want to intermingle with us. And not only that, teach us. Well, I'm sorry, I ain't got nothing to learn from artificial intelligence. I ain't got nothing to learn from a computer. Nothing. Nothing, because I was brought up in a world where computers were to be used by us, not the other way around. So we got a problem here, and I understand time's short, and I understand iron and mix and clay, don't mix. So this is bound to fail, but not after it causes the destruction that is going to cause and the disstability, with people. I told you guys, again, going back to the things that I have said, what is coming has to do with people. Nothing else is at stake but the sanity, the morality, the transparency, and people. The scriptures is warning us, do not follow the left or the right path. Follow truth. When you're following truth, when you're following YAHUSHUA, when you're following Yahuwah, there is no right and left. It's just a middle. It's a road. Straight all the way. Don't turn left, don't turn right. And keep your head straight. Don't look to the sides, because you lose focus. Right after my son's ordeal and the summer vacation and all that, there was like a very surreal, intense war going on. And for some particular reason, evil was embedded in waging war against my son. So the Board of Education started to give me problems all of a sudden. I started an internal war with these people. For some particular reason, they just couldn't figure out where to place my son. My son was hanging in the ballot. Nowhere to go. No place. We don't have no space for him. Really? Okay. Then they placed him in a school that he doesn't belong. Where the child started to express safety concerns. But I already felt that something wasn't right. I already felt he didn't belong there. So I had to allow my intuitions as a mother to guide me, because these people were lying to me and deceiving me. My friends, where they placed him, my friends, he could have been there. This would have been his second year. And all because I refuse to submit to their stupid protocols. Sorry, it ain't happening. So, you're going to have to take a stand. And when you do, you're going to find out you by yourself. Because everybody has a war that they are going to fight. And your family and your friends are going to be your worst enemy, because everybody's going to have to make a choice for themselves. This is not a group thing. The group has no foundation. None. This is why in every single movie, the group, they don't survive. Only one person survives. Never ever will you see more than one person, or maybe two. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Always give the benefit of the doubt, but always is one person that survives and makes it alive to tell the story. You need to understand why. Because only you know how to keep yourself safe. The majority of people, if it's time to sell you out so that they can, live, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're not going to think it twice. This is why this mentality is coming out. This is why I've asked you, would you recognize the enemy if it's coming, knocking on your door, asking for help? There's a difference between need and greed. And a person that's in need is humble. A person that's in need doesn't want war. They don't want to be killed. They're not interested in losing their lives. They're trying to preserve it. They're asking. They're begging. These people have a mentality that they want to take. This mentality is evil in nature from the get-go. But this has been seen before. This was seen in the 90s. This was seen in the 90s, and I'm going to tell you, I went through something very similar, even though I was working, okay, and I was being supplemented. But I found myself where there was a food of shortage and the food stamps were not enough, okay, and I found myself having to resort to go into a soup kitchen to eat with my 2 children during the holidays because I just could not afford food. And I remember back then I was not awoken, and I remember that, you know, quote unquote, okay, my thought then, it was the saddest Christmas ever, because it was like the first time where I had no money, I couldn't provide absolutely nothing. And I remember that it was Thanksgiving time. I remember it very well because the food kitchen was about 2 blocks away from where I was living, and everybody was festing. There was a party everywhere, and we were standing in line in the cold waiting for the soup kitchen to open. I went through this. And I also remember the countdown, the clock countdown of the 90s, where they swept and they did a cleaning, and they found that a lot of people were scheming the system, and they got rid of a lot of people. A lot of people lost their, you know, food stamps and their medical insurance, and not only that, the rent that was being paid. And a lot of these people fell into the migrant category. So what is going on, it's not new. It's not new. What is being exposed is a very disturbing mentality that has always been there. And it's an entitled mentality. And it's a mentality that refuses to say, you know what? I can no longer, you know, do this, but I'm going to learn how to do it and to do it for myself. It's not a mentality that's willing to learn. It's not a mentality that is willing to chip in, you understand, and add. No, it's a mentality that's destructive in nature and is willing to take, not add. So that means that it's willing to do anything and everything to walk out of a place, okay, not just unharmed, but maybe no witnesses. Most of these people are going to end 1 or 2 ways. There's just no other way to look at it. No other way to look at it. On a serious note, and we already know from the past that those that steal from places, well, they don't end up very well. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to have a plan A and a plan B, because there's going to be a lot of arrests. Where are they going to put all these people? Because the jails are full. Another thing we got to think about. And then when they come out, they're going to be more rebellious. Yeah, because this is a radical mentality. This mentality is only satisfied through money. This is why I wouldn't be surprised if one politician comes and starts giving out his money all over the place just to satisfy people, just to get them on his side. Because people are becoming Esau. They're selling themselves for a plate of food. And I told you guys, do not be like Esau. I've been saying that for a while. I've been telling people, get out of the big cities. This is not a place you want to go. This is a mentality. This is a mentality that's not prepared. This is a mentality that depends on something, someone. So you need to understand. You really need to understand. This is an entitled mind. And anybody that thinks that the government owes you something, you need to wake up from that fantasy land. Nobody owes anybody nothing. So I don't understand. Like, I'm just kind of like, you know, very skeptical right now of what's really going on. When it comes to here, well, over here, the rumors are, all right, me asking around, because like I said, I live in separation. I don't live in nothing that has to do with this world. Sorry. If I gotta ask for food, then I got no problem doing that. But I am not bowing down to no governmental agency, and I'm not becoming dependent, okay, when, you know, I'm already in the know of what this system is doing. Not just for the things that I have gone through, but for the things that I know I grew up with. And the capability of you being better off the system than on the system. If you don't grow up with something, alright, it's hard for you to accept it. Sooner or later, you're going to walk away from it. You're going to say, this is not productive. This is keeping me behind. This is keeping me, in a condition where it's not beneficial for me. Often, we should be seeking a foundation. Nobody wants to allow you to own your house, but they want to give you money. My friends, money is useless without a foundation. I've known this for a very long time. This is why I was confined to a system that was evolving in my presence, telling me, here, this is for you to live. This is for you to do this. So much of this, so much of that. But the main thing, which is a foundation, which is something solid, which no one can take it from you, is the least that they provide. And material things are only as good as how you can move around. Because imagine getting evicted and having to, resort to putting your stuff where you're going to put them. So not only are you evicted, but you're going to lose everything that, quote unquote, they help you provide. But the most important thing, which is a foundation, okay, a roof over your head, a place where no one can kick you out, a place where you can rest your head, a place that you're safe and secure, that's the least that they provide you. But they want to give you all this money. I don't know what to say. But I was once like you. The difference is I knew this was going to come down crashing. I knew. It was just a matter of time. But this was foreshadowed. They want to try to decipher the simple fact that, over here, we only have, until the first week of November for the island. Then after that, they don't have nothing. But the same mentality that I'm looking at over there is not the same mentality here. I don't see the same things. Yet, they are very well aware of the situation. And they know. But that mentality, you don't see it here. It's like non-existent. The entitled mentality here is within government. And the way that they treat those less unfortunate than them. That's the entitled mind here. That they think that they're better than you. Like on a serious note. Nonetheless, the indifference. But when it comes to this particular problem that the USA is about to go through, when it comes to this, food thing, that's not here. Yet, the island is going to go through something. Our main problem right now here is Luma, the electrical company. And the water company that, left 15 municipalities without water. I was without water for 3+ days. And we were not on the list. But instead of telling people, prepare anyway, just in case something happens. No, you're not on the list, you don't have to worry about. Then I woke up, no water. Thank goodness that I had water. But I was able to test my water preparedness by this. The light, listen. I don't know what's going to happen with the light. But my electricity is $15 a month. That's my consumption. Yet I pay $60+ a month after all the charges that they add. And in order for me to receive those $15 of light, I have to pay 30 something plus dollars for the combustion to give me that light, which makes absolutely no sense considering that none of these charges were there, okay, before Luma. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. And these people don't talk about thousands or a few 100,000. No, they talk about millions and billions, which is hard for the average person to comprehend the elaborate number. But I have come to the conclusion that politics is a lifestyle for these people. And it's just like 88 said, the island has the most corrupt politicians in history. And I'm sorry to say, he's absolutely right. And they're transparent and they don't see themselves, but they think that they're fooling you. Considering that I didn't grow up with none of this madness, okay, I can honestly tell you that there is a way to live without these people, but you gotta turn your back. You gotta know who's who and what's what, and you gotta go after what you need. Your life is your life. Your life doesn't depend on the government. Your life doesn't depend on governmental assistance. You have a way, okay, that you can go about things and you can make use. I'm not knocking the system. I'm not knocking those that, you know, need the system. I was once like you, okay? I was in the street while, you know, my own father was feasting and having elaborate, you know, dinners, okay? Throwing away food. His daughter was in the street, all right? So you know what? You can't talk to me about nothing. And I was not in the street by myself. I was in the street with 2 kids. What I didn't go through when I ran away from my house, I ended up going through with 2 kids. So you figure that out. Nonetheless, we need to understand that the majority of the things that are happening is judgment. And I hope that you understand that judgment is upon us. Nonetheless, the numbers are very disturbing. And I told you guys that 88 is a 9/11 code. Not only that, this whole thing with the food issue, all right, and the date that they're pointing to, that's a 9/11 code right there with a number 1 in the middle that stands for unity and a new beginning. And what is politics trying to do? They're trying to mix Democrats with a radical socialist mind. I never thought that I would see these two in an unholy marriage because they are opposed. Freedom is against socialism. Socialism leads to communism. It leads to a dictatorship. Do you not see where they're trying to head this country to? Do you not see that time's up? Do you not see that how well you can see is how well you're going to stand? Do you not recognize the mentality that is being exposed for what it is? This is the mentality that I have been exposing. This is the mentality that I am surrounded. It's different everywhere you go. You need to understand that this is going to go forth. And rumor has it that they want to extend this all the way to January. I want you to understand this Hollywood mind, my friends. Look at what they're willing to do on a Black Friday for toast. Then you need to understand what people are going to be willing to do for food. And how many children are about to lose their parents over this madness instead of finding a way out and humbling themselves and figuring it out And if you gotta, well, this week I can't have 2 pieces of steak, so I'm only gonna have 1. But I only have 1 piece of steak. Well, I'm going to cut it in half, okay, and give half and half. But no, we don't think like that. We want to live lavishly, okay, when it's clear that time is telling us judgment is upon us. Take a look at China. Take a look at what's going on in China. There's a chain reaction that has been started. And I'm sorry to tell you guys, time's up. But I've been warning people. Prepare accordingly. It's time to prepare. It's time to take things serious. And it's time for separation. You won't stand unless you separate yourself and solidify your foundation. But because many people have no foundation, you could expect that there's a death storm coming. Oh yeah, there's a storm coming. But the weather has absolutely nothing to do with this one. This one is death. Because this is not going to end very well. This is not going to end very well. The things that are happening with China, and the simple fact that they have opened a Pandora box which they can't close, and they're losing control. It has sparked a chain reaction that is very supernatural in nature. Not only that, their calling card numbers, okay, are aligning perfectly with this date of 11/1/2025, which is November the 1st, 2025. Not only that, it's what's coming after. November is an 11. It's month 11. November stands for Thanksgiving, which stands for murder, bloodshed, atrocities in disguise as giving thanks. Okay, you need to understand that it's time for judgment. Not only that, you also need to understand that this is evil in nature. So, this is disorder and judgment, what is coming. And it's under 9, which makes it the 9/11 code. But what it's truly disturbing is that it's final. We're not coming back from this, no matter what they make it seem afterwards. It equals to a 12. 9 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 12, which is governmental perfection, which is telling us time's up. We need to understand that I am leaning towards a very interesting social experiment with this mentality being brought forth, because this is not going to end well. But they already are prepared for this, and their actions, it's a double-edged sword, obviously, because they're in an internal war. But it seems, and all fingers are pointing to the demon rats as the corporates of this particular, social experiment. Nonetheless, I am here to tell you guys that you need to watch those that are being brought forth as wolves in sheep's clothes. And we have a perfect candidate in NYC. And I am telling you, you don't want this kind of mentality leading absolutely anything within the USA, because it's going to betray the USA. But has not the USA already been betrayed? Look at what they're doing just for the sake of going against a few. Have you not understand how many illegal immigrants receive this type of assistance that should not have? Do you not understand that they are giving our money instead of helping us Americans? They are helping anything other than Americans. The numbers are there, but people are blind, and you're being led into a very silent civil war. We're not coming back from this. This is complete anarchy. Nonetheless, it has already been 28 days, and it just doesn't seem to have a resolution, but it's causing problems on top of problems. And I just don't believe that by closing Congress and by them taking a vacation and not coming, and sitting down and talking and, doing what they do best, okay, I don't think this is a solution. I think this is a problem on top of a problem, and they're going to make it run as long as they can, but they're going to blame 88. By doing so, they're plunging the whole entire economy. This is not just going to affect those that have no food and no means to buy food. This is going to affect the chains. This is going to affect the stores. The first ones to go are the little stores, because who does not accept, food benefits? Who? If you don't accept food benefits, you don't survive. It's the same thing that if you don't sell alcohol and tobacco, you won't make money. It's like it's mandatory. This is not a lie. Ask anybody. Ask anybody that has tried to survive without selling alcohol, tobacco, and anything else. Nonetheless, they want to talk about the healthcare. Over here, they got everybody, they got everybody scared because they're telling everybody here that what's happening is because of, healthcare. But this has nothing to do with healthcare. So we need to stabilize that there's a lot of duplicities going around. And there's an information war. But the truth, you'll never hear it unless you look for it for yourself. So 42 million people are going to be left without, Thanksgiving dinner. 4 plus 2 is a 6. That's the number for men. And we have a 9/11 code. The 11 standing for disorder in judgment. Could we successfully say that men is under disorder in judgment and it's final and judgment is about to come upon people? And there's a famine coming? Because people do not understand that eventually they gotta open up. And, you may or may not receive a retro. But at least you had learned something. You had learned survival. Where there's a mean, there's a way. But no, we want $300. We don't want $50. So if I can only give someone $50 and they need to make it work for food, no, they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to do that because they need for the whole entire month. But if you shop around, rice, beans, seasoning, you can cook an entire meal with about $20. And I have cooked with less than that. So I'm asking the question, what's going on? Because this is a greed, entitled mentality. This is not a healthy human mentality. There's a difference here, and I can't be the only one that sees it. It's truly disturbing the time that we are approaching, and it's coming. And if this is what they're willing to do in Thanksgiving, can you imagine what they're willing to do in December to get their kids gift? Like, it's truly disturbing. Like, it's very disturbing, that we have to deal with this. It's very disturbing that, we are confronted by this, irrational, illogical mentality that I just don't, I don't understand what is it going to take for them to recognize that this is not going to lead them very far. But this is the conditioning of men, and this is what happens when you are raised in this environment. You become a condition. You're a condition of your environment. You're a subjection of your environment. And this is where scriptures become evident. Some of these people, they can't survive. They can't survive without the system. They so dependent that they're not willing to learn to live a different way. Only the smart, only those that see, and only those that have been hungry would be able to understand what rationing means. What food signifies. Food is not sex. Food is not ecstasy. Food is not indulgence. Food is a necessity. And you shouldn't be eating to feel like a stuffed turkey. You should be eating to feel satisfied, full. That's it. You know? And you should always leave room for dessert. But no, we live in a gluttony society where it's 3 pieces of steak, 4 pieces of steak. I can only cook rice, beans, and either steak or chicken. You know, sometimes rice and chicken, alright? I make a rice bowl, alright? Like I did yesterday. Rice, and I made some chicken with broccoli. And I made a rice bowl with my own personal sauce. And that's what me and my son ate. But me and my son understand that food is not candy. It's not to make you happy. It's to make you full. It's to make you, you know, satisfied where you're not hungry. But it might not necessarily be what you really might want to eat. Because a burger is more appetizing than rice and beans. But it has no significant nutrient in comparison. The best food you can consume is the one your hands make. There's no ifs or buts about it. Nonetheless, you save money. I remember when an egg, you know, egg and cheese bagel used to cost like $1.25. Now it's like $3 or $4. Coffee, $4 coffee? Really? And then often it's nasty. You gotta throw it away. It happened to me twice. I bought coffee outside from separate places. Quote unquote, the best coffee. I had to throw it away. I couldn't drink it. It was that bad. $4, $3 thrown away. That's how what's happening. People want to make money, but is money over quality? And we still don't understand that. They don't lose. When it comes to money, they're not there to lose. This is why I think the restaurant business is truly disturbing and nasty, because they will sell you anything and everything. They don't lose. And then the worst thing is when you get a stomach flu or you get food poisoning and you gotta, you know, go through all that, and your flora gets all messed up. Like, that is the worst, because then you gotta take your time to rebuild it. But people do not understand. They run to the doctors and then make it worse, because that's what pharmacia is. It's poison on top of poison. And then we wonder why we're sick, but we don't understand it. They're cutting our lives short in so many ways. Yet, people think that just because our Heavenly Father is asking for separation, you can't live, you can't survive. Do you not know our Heavenly Father provides? Do you not understand that? It's truly disturbing. Like, it's very disturbing that the things that we're living through, and how the mentality of humanity has been hijacked, where people have changed. People have changed where there's no coming back. These people, I don't know what they got. I don't know what they took. But I'm telling you, everybody has changed. They think they can do it themselves. They think that they're better off, having to pay rent versus having your own little spot, even if it's not what you want, but it's yours. No one can take it away from you. They don't understand the difference. And I'm just asking myself, when did we get lost? I don't know. But I'm here to tell people, nobody owes you nothing. Sorry. Nobody owes you nothing. My Heavenly Father doesn't owe anybody nothing. It's not a mentality that comes from my Heavenly Father nor from His Son. This is a very, very, very diabolical mentality. If you're willing to kill, steal for a plate of food, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what's left. Because that right there it's no return. I've been talking about the 9/11 code. I told you guys 88 has a 9/11 code embedded in him, and our 88 is not who we think he is. At least that's not what came back. Nonetheless, I'll leave you guys to figure that out. One of the things that we can successfully say is that something is coming. Something is brewing. Something is preparing itself to rise up. And when it does, I pray that you are not in the way. I pray that you are not a participant of this, because I am telling you, this is another January 6th. And if you don't believe me, look around you. They're preparing for it. They're ready for it. They're inciting it. And I'm telling you, they need a great distraction for whatever it is that they need to do, because there's a shift going on, and we're not sure whether it's technological or whether it's monetary. All right, nonetheless, the aliens are like, the demons in disguise, and they're just standing there waiting to reveal themselves. We need to understand we are heading towards the end. My friends, time is so short, you just don't get it. I wish that I can explain it any more clear than what I am telling you. Judgment is coming. Are you ready? What is about to happen to Jamaica is going to be very similar to what happened to the island back with Maria. My friends, it's there. It's truly disturbing, and these people haven't gone through this in 37 years, the last time that they got something of this magnitude. They're not prepared, nor mentally nor emotionally. They do not understand what is about to happen to them. They're going to be plunged into darkness, my friends, while the rest of the world is starving. And we still have another 30 days of hurricane season. That anything and everything can happen. We got so many problems, it's not even funny. And not a single solution. Because if you look into these people for solutions, sit and don't hold your breath. Because nobody's coming to rescue absolutely anyone. And this is the part that I still do not understand, how people don't get it. It's just sad, my friends. It breaks my heart. It saddens me that I'm looking at this. I'm looking at a lot of people being affected for the sake of this entitled mentality that thinks that everybody owes them something, that thinks that everybody has to take care of them, and that they, going to live, a life of, glamour and this at the expense of others. I'm sorry, this is truly very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. And I can't relate with none of the things that are happening. It's like I'm numb. It is not really bothering me. It's not really impacting me. I really just don't have really not much to say, because I've been speaking within the last 10 years about this mentality. I've been addressing it, I've been exposing it, and I've been telling you, would you recognize the enemy when he comes asking you for help? I've told you guys that the enemy looks like you and I. This is why we can't recognize it. And I've told you guys, look at this diabolical mentality of entitlement that is coming forth. Okay, there's just no way to make this up. This is what it is. And then the most sad part about it is that they're raising children with this same exact mentality. This is a parasitic mentality, my friends. This is evil. This is like a curse passed down. And then you wonder why they're burying their children, why their children resort to drugs, why their children, want this and that, and they're willing to do anything and everything for it. This is why. This is the root. This is the root. It comes straight from the house. The house is the foundation. If the foundation is crooked and disturbed and disrupted, this is what you get. Wow. I had a very hard time sleeping Sunday to Monday, and I literally crashed last night because I was so tired. But I kept thinking about, these people that work for the government, and they are quote unquote working, but they're not getting paid. I keep thinking about how they are going by, how are they surviving. I keep thinking about whether they're going to be able to afford their rent, or they're going to become another statistic and be thrown out and evicted. I've been looking at a lot of the evictions, and a lot of them are for non-payment of the entitled mind. But I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about those that are going through hard times and cannot meet ends meet, and they're being evicted, which is a problem. Instead of finding a solution for these people to stay afloat, no, the solution is to create another problem by evicting them, throwing them in the street, but not, telling them where to go. It's nothing but a problem with another problem that inserts and brings forth another problem, but yet there's no solutions. So then you have to go back to the shelter system, if they even have one. I don't think that, in the case of some of these people there is, because these places look so nice. Okay, so I don't know, but nonetheless, this is the problems that it's truly disturbing, to see, all right, to encounter without no solutions. I put myself in the place due to the fact that I was once in the streets without a place to go. So just imagine the psychological trauma, that I went through, for the first year, where I was, due to the things that I went through, and the lack of, moral support on behalf of these people. Yeah, because that's the least thing that they, that they give you, moral support. Nonetheless, I remember that the first year, I was on edge. Anybody that would knock on the door, I thought that they were going to come to throw me in the street. So just imagine being in the street, okay, and then, going into the shelters and, having this anxiety that you're going to be thrown out in the street again, and then getting out of there and going to your apartment, and then feeling this anxiety for a whole entire year, where you can't sleep, you're paranoid, you're on alert that somebody's gonna come knock on your door and throw you in the street. It's like torment on top of torment on top of torment, but they never address that anxiety. They never address those psychological traumas, okay? But they're so quick to throw you in an apartment by yourself. Think about someone that is being evicted. I went through that, and I have never been evicted. Then I want you to think about a person that is getting evicted. I was in the streets, and yet I felt more safe in the streets than I did in an apartment, because then when I got off the streets, I should have felt safe. But yet I was with this anticipation. Like, it took me like about a year to shake this feeling off and to be able to like move on. But it was always in the back of my head that I wasn't safe, that this is not my place, that I don't belong here, that anybody and any minute, for any excuse, reason, can kick me out of here, and they wouldn't give it a second thought. But I want to explain to you the foundation of that fear. I didn't grow up with that uncertainty. My dad had a house. I grew up, despite of everything that was happening around me, I grew up in a solid foundation. I had a home that was solid, that nobody can throw me out. So growing up in that, and then all of a sudden being exposed to the streets on this level, is going to be psychologically damaging, because it goes against the foundation that has been established, where you understand that having your own place is key, is crucial. But in the USA, it's impossible for a single mother to own a house, because they make it that way. They make it impossible. And then when someone does accomplish it, they face other problems, because the system is there to go against you. The system is not there for your benefit, for your indulgement. The system will always find a pretext, a duplicity to go against you. If it's not the grass, it's not too green, it needs to be perfectly green. Who the heck cares about the grass? Make it green yourself. You need to cut it because it's 2 inches up. Excuse me? You go through a fire, you gotta go to City Hall, and you gotta put in permits, and you gotta pay them to get a permit to rebuild. And then if they tell you, sorry, we can't allow you to rebuild for whatever reason, they decide to make it up. Now you're not only minus a house, but now you're homeless. But you once had a house, but you can't rebuild. I've witnessed all these things. I've witnessed all these things. I've seen them firsthand. This is why I don't trust the system. I never did. I never did. Because in reality, the system is not there to help anyone. I reported after Maria things that were coming out that people were doing because the island was in chaos and the food stamps were not working. Nothing was working. It was cash only. Nonetheless, a lot of people were in the parking lots of the supermarket, all right, and they resorted to stealing from those that were coming out of the supermarket. They didn't riot the supermarkets, and no, they stole from the people in the parking lot. The same thing happened in Walmart. So in the normal supermarket, that was happening, and in Walmart, it was happening a lot. The island was going through it, and there was a lot of people that resort to, you know, their food stamps and depend on them, and they couldn't buy nothing even though they had food stamps. They couldn't buy nothing, and this is the entitled mind that doesn't prepare. They think it's a joke, and I'm tired of this entitled mind, because this is the entitled mind that puts the first responders in risk, because they have been told to move, and yet they want to stay because they want to preserve their garbage. So you know what? Let them. Don't give them your sympathy. This type of garbage is too abundant and it's keeping us down. These wicked, there's no peace for the wicked. These people are moved by money. Wherever there's money, they move, and if they gotta fight for money, that's what they're gonna do. That's their reward. Let them. These are the same ones that are burying their children, and these are the same ones that the streets is claiming their kids. Let them. Let them bury the kids. Let them. They're dead. That's why it's happening to them. You don't understand the wages of death is sin? You don't understand it? Look at what they're telling you. They wouldn't think in a second thought to come into your house, kill you, and take everything. They're not asking. They're taking. There's a difference. I'm completely against, you know, self-defense on a murdery level. There is no self-defense in my eyes that needs to amount to murder. Self-defense doesn't constitute murder, sorry. Self-defense is self-defense. So we need to exercise caution. But again, would you recognize the enemy when he comes knocking on your door, asking you for help? Because this is what I've been talking about. This is the mentality I've been talking about. And I am glad that my Heavenly Father doesn't leave me in shame. It's right there for you to see it. I can't show it to you. You gotta see it for yourself. And if you think that it's okay, well, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not. Not too long ago, my next door neighbor had a problem, okay? I witnessed the problem, but I can't help her. I can't get involved. I can be a witness, which is more powerful than anything. But I am not going to get involved. I am not going to allow another person to put their hands on me, because then we're going to have a serious problem. And I got to think about my son, because if that person puts their hands on me, then it's game on. So both of us are going to go to jail. So then I got to think about who's going to take care of my son. My next door neighbor ain't going to take care of my son. My next door neighbor barely can take care of herself. So then who's going to take care of my son? I got to be wise. I can protect and stand for my son, but I can't stand for other people, because the reality of the matter is nobody's going to take my son while I'm in jail or while I'm being processed, and nobody's going to go to take me or bail me out, nor is nobody going to be on my defense. But I have to defend someone. No, sorry, I can't do it, but I can be a witness, because I got to think about my son. And if you can't see that, then you the problem, because you want me to put myself in danger by taking your side when I don't even know what's going on, okay, for the sake of defending you. But you won't think it twice if something happens to me to take over my son. You will not do it. You will not do it. I don't care what you say, you will not do it. And I know this deep down. and my son doesn't need to suffer, okay, because I made a bad choice. Because the only person that I need to stand is for my son. Because nobody has stand for me. Nobody stood for me in 2020. Nobody stood for me in 2021. Nobody stood for me today. Nobody has stood for me yesterday. So I have to stand for myself. I've been through a lot of things and I have to stand for myself. I'm still looking for a person that can stand for me. It's not there. It doesn't exist. So therefore, this is a duplicity mentality that we're dealing with, which is another thing that we're dealing with. The lies that this entitled mentality brings forth. So, caution with the radical mind and who you give your vote to, okay? Socialism has absolutely nothing to do with democrats and freedoms. So, socialism leads to dictatorship and to communism. So, caution, caution, and caution. Because those that come from the outside trying to get in, offering this, offering that, are nothing but betrayal. Don't believe me? Go right ahead. Look around you sometimes. Don't you see the wolves dressed in cheap clothes? Don't they look good? Aren't they so charismatic? They so charismatic that if you really awoken, they're gonna make you gag. Because in reality, they stink. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, this is what I got. You've been warned. You have been warned for the past 12 years. I've been here and I've been talking about the same thing. We're looking upon it. This is my last Watch Woman report because my next video will be my end. I'm about to shut this door down because I need to move forward, and you know, it's time to grow and it's time to let go. And I've been here 12 years and I've been bringing the best that I can, the truth and uncensored, unfiltered. I started here 12 years ago. I am here. I don't serve Jesus and I don't serve religion, nor do I care about government, nor do I care about nothing. But everything is against me. So it is against you. So you need to understand we're all in the same boat. Ain't nobody better than nobody. And there's nowhere to go. So, it's time to take a stand. It's time to assess our areas. It's time to know things. It's time to become educated. It's time to acquire the knowledge that is going to help us stand and endure. But it's time to separate ourselves, and especially from this madness information that artificial intelligence wants to bring in. I ain't got nothing to learn from artificial intelligence. Sorry, that's demons. No ifs or buts about it. And not only that, but they're telling you themselves that they're demons. So you take your pick on who you want to believe. I choose to stay to the side because it's not productive. Anyway, I will see you all for my final video. Take care, everyone, and I will highly encourage everyone to keep your eyes out when you are in the streets within the next few weeks coming up. I really don't know how bad this is going to get, but I'm telling you something is coming and it's bad, and I don't know if this is going to be the switch that is going to spark everything, but I'm telling you, people do not have any knowledge on how to survive. People don't know where to go. People haven't been taught this. Unless you go through things, you don't learn. So you need to understand that this is a mentality that has no knowledge. This is the only thing that they know how to do. So you need to understand that this is going to go against them. But you stay safe. You keep your hands clean. And I'm not talking about dirt. I'm talking from blood. And we do not participate in this madness. Move with caution. And try to be as gray as you can. Because in reality, you do not want to fall prey to this mentality. It's not worth it. It really isn't. Let the dead continue their death rampage. You that see, separate yourselves. Yah bless your path into the truth always, my friends. And take care. Be safe. Until next time, everyone.